Is it just me, or do you ever notice how some people literally stay rich without ever looking like they're trying? Like they don't brag, don't flex, and still somehow own real estate portfolios, pay barely any taxes, and sip $9 lattes with zero anxiety? They don't talk about it on Instagram, they don't teach it in school, and they sure as hell aren't telling you how they do it over brunch. Because honestly, real wealth, it's quiet, strategic, and often hidden in boring little moves that the rich use every day, while the rest of us are arguing about who should pay on the first date. Today, we're exposing everything you thought you knew about wealth. These are the 10 money moves rich people never talk about, but always use. Each one is a silent wealth hack, and by the end of this video, you'll be thinking like the rich, even if your bank account's still screaming like it's in a horror movie. Without wasting any time, let's get into it. 10. They build systems that print money without them. Okay, here's the uncomfortable truth. If you stop working and your money stops flowing, you're not rich, you're temporarily employed. The wealthy build systems, things that keep making money even when they're asleep, on a beach, or watching their dog win Best in Show. Here are some examples. Rental properties with property managers, businesses with teams and automation, dividend stocks, royalties, and affiliate income. They set it up once, and it pays them forever. Because rich people don't chase income, they build engines. 9. They use debt like a weapon, not a trap. Okay, let's talk about the D word. For most people, debt feels like financial quicksand. You borrow a little, sink a little, borrow a little more. Suddenly you're eating instant ramen in a hoodie you've owned since the Obama administration. But rich people, they don't fear debt. They weaponize it because they know a secret that most people don't. Not all debt is bad. There's dumb debt, like financing a $900 iPhone on your $1,200 income. And then there's rich people debt, the kind that makes you money while you sleep. Let me paint the picture. The average person's debt mentality. I need a new car. I'll get a loan. My credit card is maxed, but I'll just pay minimums. If I can afford the monthly payment, I can afford the item. This mindset leads to one thing: a lifetime of working just to keep up with your bills. Now compare that to the rich person's debt mentality. How can I use someone else's money to buy an asset that pays me more than the interest? Can this debt increase my net worth or cash flow? If I borrow $500,000 to buy real estate and someone else pays the mortgage, that's not debt, that's leverage. In other words, they use debt to buy things that generate income, not liabilities that suck money out of their pockets. But if you think smart debt is sneaky, wait till you see how the rich dodge taxes without ever touching an illegal loophole. 8. They borrow against assets instead of selling them. Want to know the richest phrase in finance? Buy, borrow, die. It sounds like a rap lyric, but it's actually how billionaires legally avoid taxes. Here's how it works. Rich people buy appreciating assets, like stocks, real estate, or businesses. Instead of selling them and triggering capital gains taxes, they borrow against them. Let's say they own $10 million in stocks. Instead of selling it, they go to the bank and borrow $2 million against those stocks, tax-free. Why? Because loans aren't taxable, and that loan pays for their mansion, their Tesla, and their espresso machine that speaks Italian. Then they die and pass the assets on to their heirs, who inherit them at a stepped-up basis. Translation: no taxes, ever. By the way, if you're still watching at this point, I just want to say that our Stealth Wealth series is a step-by-step playlist to help you fully understand how to build wealth and live life on your terms. So if you're serious about financial freedom, make sure to subscribe and join the channel to always stay updated on our upcoming videos. But stacking tax-free millions isn't the only silent flex. Rich people also know how to make money before they even spend a single dollar. 7. They invest before they spend. A few years ago, I realized the difference between how broke people and rich people handle money. Broke mindset: I'll pay my bills, hit the mall, maybe grab dinner, and if there's anything left, cool, I'll invest it. Rich mindset: I'll invest first. Whatever's left is what I can afford to spend. And that's why one of the first things I tell you in our Financial Freedom series is, it's not about being disciplined, it's about being strategic by default. They don't try to save, they design their financial life so investing happens automatically. How? Rich people set up autopilot investing. A portion of income gets siphoned off the moment it lands. into index funds, real estate syndicates, retirement accounts, or dividend portfolios. The money is gone before it even tempts them. It's the financial version of brushing your teeth. You just do it. No hype, no flex. Just habit. I like to use this fast food analogy. Imagine you walk into a buffet. Most people load up on fries, wings, soda, and maybe think about salad later. Rich people, they fill their plate with assets first. Income-producing foods, the fries come later, and only if the ROI makes sense. The result? The average person spends now and invests what's left. The rich invest now and end up spending more later because their investments grew without them lifting a finger. It's not a budgeting trick. It's a wealth-building algorithm disguised as a routine. And speaking of routine, the wealthy also build their lives around one sneaky move that guarantees they're never too busy to get richer. 6. They outsource almost everything, except wealth decisions. Look, you need to understand this clearly. Time is the rich man's ultimate currency. And here's the crazy part. Rich people don't do more. They do less of the wrong things. They're not mowing their lawns, waiting on hold with customer service, or spending 2 hours figuring out which brand of toilet paper is 13 cents cheaper. They delegate everything that doesn't multiply their wealth. Why? Because their most valuable asset isn't money. It's mental bandwidth. They know their brain can only make so many quality decisions per day. So they protect their brain power like it's wrapped in bubble wrap and stored in a Swiss vault. Groceries? Outsourced. Email inbox? Handled. Booking flights? Assistant's problem. This frees up space to focus on 3 things: thinking clearly, making strategic decisions, spotting and acting on high-value opportunities. Here's a real-life wealth hack. One high-net-worth entrepreneur spends $50,000 per year on personal help just to save time, but made $400,000 more last year because he had time to focus on scaling his business. That's not spending. That's investing in mental ROI. Here's the wealthy mindset shift. I can afford to do this, but it costs me more not to outsource it. They don't just ask, how much does it cost? They ask, what is it costing me not to delegate this? But what's even more powerful than outsourcing is knowing how to hide the wealth they generate. 5. They practice stealth wealth. Like it's religion. Ever seen a guy in a t-shirt and flip-flops buying a $2 million property in cash? You just met stealth wealth in action. Oh, and you know what rich people hate more than taxes? Attention. Because attention attracts problems. Lawsuits, scams, gold diggers, entitled relatives, even criminals. That's why truly wealthy people don't flash Rolexes, drip in designer, or park Lambos in their driveway like it's a rap video. They blend in. On purpose. The guy wearing flip-flops, pushing a shopping cart through Costco, he might own the entire plaza. Meanwhile, the dude in Gucci shades financing a $100,000 car. He's probably 2 missed paychecks from disaster. Quiet is the new rich. Why stealth wealth works. It keeps their personal life drama-free. It protects them from lawsuits. No one sues the average Joe. It lowers expectations, increases negotiation power, and gives them freedom to move in silence. And most importantly, it protects their peace. Remember this golden rule for life. If everyone knows you're rich, you're doing it wrong. They're not hiding money. They're hiding from the nonsense that comes with being publicly wealthy. And while they're blending in, they're also doing something truly gangster. They pay themselves before the government takes a dime. 4. They use business entities to pay less taxes. Let's cut straight to the uncomfortable truth. If you make $100,000 as an employee, you're taxed like a sucker. But if you make $100,000 through a business, you're taxed like a genius. Here's why. Employees earn, get taxed, then spend what's left. Entrepreneurs earn, spend on business expenses first, then get taxed on what's left. The result? One pays taxes on the steak, the other pays taxes on the scraps after they've already eaten the whole filet mignon. How the rich structure their life. Pay attention to this now. The wealthy don't just have money, they route it strategically. They set up entities, LLCs, S corporations, holding companies, and run their income through these businesses. Why? Because a business can deduct expenses that would normally be considered personal luxuries. Let's break it down. New iPhone, business communication device, travel to Miami, client networking, nice dinner, business meeting, car lease, company vehicle, home office, deductible workspace, Each of these cuts down their taxable income. Legally. They're not cheating. They're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers with a broken calculator. Bonus move, asset protection. Those business entities don't just save on taxes. They also protect assets. If someone sues you personally and everything you own is in your name, you're exposed. But if your assets are in LLCs and trusts, you're protected like a financial ninja in a fortress made of contracts and legal armor. The mindset shift. How can I legally make every dollar do more than one job? Rich people don't just earn income. They structure it to flow efficiently. That's the game. But even when they play the game, the rich rig it by surrounding themselves with people who are smarter than them. 3. They pay for access, not advice. Most people ask, can I afford this course? Rich people ask, who do I need to get in the room with? Here's the truth. The poor take free advice from broke friends. The rich pay 5 figures to get in the room with people who've already won. The wealthy aren't out here downloading free PDFs or watching 10-hour YouTube rabbit holes hoping to figure it out. They pay to play. They drop $10,000 on a mastermind, $25,000 on a business retreat, $50,000 on a private mentor or strategic partnership. Not because they're desperate, but because they understand something average people don't. Information is free. Access is expensive. And access is what changes your life. Think of it this way. One dinner with a multimillionaire can shortcut years of mistakes. One introduction from the right person can open 6 figures of opportunity. That's why rich people don't ask, what's the price? They ask, what's the cost of not knowing this person? The wealthy mindset. They pay for the room, not the lecture. Because being around smart, strategic, high-level thinkers, that stuff rubs off faster than cologne in a sauna. Your network really is your net worth, and the wealthy build it on purpose. But what do they actually do with all that access, wisdom, and opportunity? Here's the kicker. They don't hoard cash like it's treasure. They deploy it into something way more powerful. And that's where this next move comes in. 2. They trust assets, not cash. Cash is cute, but assets are what separate the temporarily rich from the permanently wealthy. Here's the truth they don't want to tell you on TikTok. Cash is not king. Cash is the guy who used to be king, but now he's balding, panicking about inflation and secretly hoping you don't notice how fast he's losing value. The rich know this, that's why they don't trust cash. They trust assets, the things that grow, produce, and multiply their wealth behind the scenes. Why cash isn't safe. Let's say you've got $100,000 in a savings account earning 0.5% interest. Sounds nice, right? Until you realize that inflation is 3% or more, which means your money is secretly bleeding out while looking safe. It's like putting your money in a museum and watching it age out of usefulness. Enter assets. Assets are like little employees that never take lunch breaks. Real estate earns you rent and appreciates. Dividend stocks pay you just for holding them. Businesses scale and spit out cash flow. Royalties, content, crypto, IP rights. If it earns money while you sleep, it's an asset. Assets aren't flashy, they're functional, and they don't just sit around collecting dust, they go to work. The millionaire mindset shift. Cash loses value. Assets create value. Poor people save money and feel good. Rich people deploy money and feel free. They understand that sitting on cash is like storing ice in a desert. It's going to melt. So instead of hoarding it, they circulate it into places that pay them back. Bonus wealth move. Cash to asset to leverage. Here's what rich people do. Turn cash into an income-producing asset. Let the asset grow or pay them. Borrow against the asset tax-free if needed. Repeat. They don't spend money, they recycle it. But here's where things get really powerful. Because once the rich have stacked these assets, they don't just sit back and enjoy the ride. They make one final move that guarantees their wealth doesn't just outlive them, it outperforms them. 1. They build legacy systems while they're alive. Most people spend their whole life trying to get rich. The wealthy, they spend their life making sure they don't have to do it twice. Because here's the thing nobody talks about. Getting rich is one thing. Staying rich through 3 generations? That's a system. The legacy play. Rich people don't just think in years, they think in decades, even generations. They set up trust to protect their assets, wills that go beyond split it 50-50, family offices to manage wealth professionally, life insurance that pays out tax-free to heirs, values, principles, and financial education to make sure their kids don't blow it all on yachts and NFTs. It's not about control. It's about continuity. Why most families go broke by Generation 3. There's a saying I absolutely love. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. Why? Because most people don't pass down the system. They just pass down the stuff. And without a system, wealth disappears faster than a birthday check in your 20s. The wealthy mindset. If my great-grandkids aren't better off because of me, I didn't build wealth. I just made money. True wealth isn't just how much you have. It's how well you can protect, grow, and pass it on. Now, since I've covered the 10 money moves rich people never talk about, there's a few things I need you to take away from all of this. None of these moves are flashy. None of them go viral on social media. And that's exactly why they work. Because real wealth isn't loud. It's structured, strategic, silent. So here's your mission. Pick just one of these money moves and implement it this month. Not tomorrow, not next year, this month. Because the rich aren't waiting. And if you want to catch up, you can't either. If you got value out of this video, let me know in the comments which of these moves you're already using, or which one you're going to start with. And if you want the next level, watch this video right here on 15 quiet money habits that secretly build wealth. You'll be shocked by how small habits can quietly change your life. We'll see you there.